Open that drawer. You know the one. Kitchen, closet, somewhere no one else looks. 3 cables you can't place, batteries that might be dead, a key to nothing you remember, and a bag full of bags. It's been sitting there untouched for months, maybe years, but every time you think about tossing it, something stops you. Not logic, something deeper. A quiet voice that says, I might need this. And here's the thing, you almost never do. But the feeling that you could is enough to keep it right where it is. If you've wondered why, the answer isn't clutter or laziness. It's not hoarding. Psychology has a better explanation, and it probably started long before that drawer ever existed. That phrase, just in case, unlocks everything. Because it's not a decision about the object, it's an emotional statement about the future. And that's where it gets interesting. There are 3 very different reasons people hold on to things they'll never use, and each one reveals something different about who you are. The first is the most common and the hardest to see. It's the memory of scarcity. Some people keep things because at some point in their life, their parents' life, their grandparents' life, not having something when it mattered had real consequences. Not abstract ones, real ones. No money to replace it, no store nearby, no quick fix. And even if that was decades ago, it left a mark on how the brain values objects. Psychologists call this scarcity mindset. When you've lived through deprivation, your brain recalibrates permanently. That old cable isn't junk, it's a potential resource. That empty box isn't cardboard, it's future protection. That bag isn't waste, it's stored utility. And here's what's fascinating. This gets inherited. You don't have to have lived through scarcity yourself. Growing up in a house where everything was saved, where waste felt almost sinful, that installs the rule without anyone saying it. You learn it by watching. So when you hesitate to throw out the cable, the voice stopping you isn't really yours. It belongs to someone who learned that waste is dangerous. But there's a second type, and it's less obvious. Some people keep things not out of fear, but out of a need for control. Their drawer isn't nostalgia or insurance, it's a system. Every saved item is a covered scenario, a controlled variable. If something breaks, I have the backup. If I need to wrap something, I have the box. If the power goes out, I have those candles from 3 years ago. These aren't random just-in cases, they're strategic. The person keeping them does it because having things ready creates a sense of security they need to function. Researchers studying anticipatory anxiety describe exactly this. When the future feels unpredictable, people look for ways to make it predictable. You can't control what happens tomorrow, but you can control what you have available when it does. The catch? That security is an illusion. But the act of keeping serves its purpose anyway. It doesn't protect you from the future. It protects you from the anxiety of thinking about it. And here's what almost no one connects. Many of these people are the same ones who plan everything, carry lists, need to know the schedule before they leave the house. The drawer is just one more piece of a control system the brain built to feel safe. Now the third type. This one's probably the most surprising. Some people keep things because letting go hurts. Not the object itself, what it represents. That t-shirt that doesn't fit but was your favorite at 20. The charger for a phone that doesn't exist anymore. The shoebox from your first paycheck. These aren't kept for function. They're kept because they're emotional anchors. Physical proof that something happened, that a time existed, that a version of you was there. And letting go feels, at a level beyond logic, like letting go of the memory itself. Psychologists call this the extended self. Certain objects become so woven into your identity that they stop being things and become fragments of who you are. Throwing them out isn't cleaning, it's amputation. This gets especially intense for people who've lost something important. Not objects, people, relationships, chapters of life. The thing becomes the last thread connecting you to what's gone. Letting it go feels like final confirmation that it's over. It's not clutter, it's grief disguised as a drawer. And here's what matters. Keeping things isn't a problem by itself. It's deeply human, with real psychological roots. But there's a line. When the space objects take starts shrinking the space you need to live. When throwing something out causes more distress than keeping it. When you're holding on not because it's useful, but because letting go feels like loss. At that point, the object isn't serving you anymore. You're serving it. So here's the question almost no one asks. Are you keeping things because they might be useful, or because letting them go forces you to accept something you're not ready for yet? You don't need a dramatic answer, but next time you open that drawer and your hand stops, notice what you feel. Not what you think, what you feel. Because the gap between "this might be useful" and "I can't let this go" is the distance between a habit and a wound. If it's a habit, fine, close the drawer and move on. But if it's a wound, at least now you know where to look. If this hit home, drop a comment. And if you're into this kind of psychology, subscribe. The next video might explain something about yourself you haven't figured out